Just gravel turning into black water. You were walking ahead, but every time I called your name, the sound bent wrong, came back as someone else's voice asking, why are you still missing? I dreamed the road kept going after the map ended. Just gravel turning into black water. You were walking ahead, but every time I called your name, the sound bent wrong, came back as someone else's voice asking, why are you still missing?
And good morning, everybody. Hi, Vicki Carpenter. You're first today. It's good to see you. Okay, I got to jump right in because I don't have a lot of time. I was tired yesterday, and I'm sorry I didn't come back to do my part two, but I'm here now. So I hope everybody is doing really, really well. If you can hear me okay, if you can put a 1 in the chat or just some emoji, doesn't matter what it is, just let me know that you can hear me. Now, yesterday we talked about Taylor Parker. We opened with some information related to hidden true crime, John and Lauren Matthias. It was just sort of a little fun little sidetrack. So if you didn't see that, you could go look at the video from yesterday. But then we went on and we talked about the title on Hidden True Crimes video yesterday was something along the lines of, what that we don't know anything about Taylor Parker in her younger years, right? And in case you haven't seen the Netflix documentary on Taylor Parker, this is the lady that here in Texas, up around Texarkana, here in East Texas, she faked being pregnant. She faked a lot of other things too, but she faked being pregnant. And when the clock rolled over to my wife is 10 months pregnant, she didn't have a choice. Something had to be done. She couldn't put it off any longer. Thank you, Vicki. She couldn't put it off any longer. Good morning, Diane. Great to see you. She was showing that, if she let the pregnancy go any further, she would have had a toddler walking out. And so she was in a real fix. Unfortunately, she took the path of a psychopath, basically. She had met a photographer and sort of befriended the photographer. And that photographer happened to be pregnant with a little girl. And I guess that clicked. The plan clicked in place for Taylor. And maybe she was scared. Maybe she wasn't a complete psychopath. But in the end, her need to be identified as family, her need to have the husband to complete the picture, her anger at her mom and her dad ultimately won out over any sort of empathy or morality that she may possess. And she went to her friend photographer's home and bludgeoned her and then basically performed a C-section. And she was pulled over on the side of the road with the fetus who had passed away. with the fetus, and she was claiming that she gave birth on the side of the road. The baby would have been, I believe the baby was 35 weeks gestational age. It was viable to live outside the womb, but she didn't know anything, and so she left the placenta attached. And basically the baby ended up with, unable to survive. If the placenta had not been attached, it probably could have survived, but she didn't know that. So that's how it ended up. So on that day, in October, she killed the mother of Braxlin. The mother's name is Reagan. She killed Braxlin, and she killed the mother of Braxlin, all for a ruse that she had been pregnant. She was not lying about her pregnancy. And so she would be able to keep her country boy, Wade Griffin. Now, I did feel like Hidden True Crime, that was Lauren's thing. Lauren jumped right to, oh, well, she just wanted to keep her man. Okay, now, clearly, if you're willing to murder, especially murder a pregnant woman, there's a little bit more going on than I want to keep my man. Okay, there's a little bit more. It's more complicated than that, Lauren. There's a lot of people in the world who, want to keep their man, and the idea of murder or stealing a baby, it doesn't even pop in your mind. It's not even a possibility. Now, what is very interesting is that the story had gotten out about Taylor, and that she was pulling off this ruse that she was pregnant. Her mother had told people that she had a hysterectomy. It was impossible for her to be pregnant. And here's what's even more interesting. The doctor that performed the hysterectomy, the tubal ligation, the clinic owner where Taylor had been receiving medical care before she met Wade, they actually reached out to law enforcement. Now they couldn't break HIPAA, right? They couldn't contact Wade and say, "Hey, I performed a hysterectomy on your wife, and she cannot be pregnant." He couldn't do that. But remember, with the Tarasoff decision, doctors and providers have a duty to protect, right? So what they did is they reached out to law enforcement, and law enforcement contacted all of the hospitals in the area, and they said, increase your security around your nursery, because we may find someone who's trying to steal a newborn baby. So I want you to imagine this. This is just the craziest story, right? So the area that they're from, it is very small, not even like 1,000 people. Now in these little East Texas, South Arkansas, West Louisiana towns, you'll have one town that's around like 5,000 people, and there's a hospital in that town. There's usually some doctors and such. But then out away from town, drive 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles, you'll find these little, almost like little settlements, kind of, where you'll only have a couple hundred people that live there. Most of these people own 20 to 100 acres of land. So I actually came from one of those areas. My hometown only had like 400 people in the whole area. So I know the culture, right? And and everybody meets up twice a week, Wednesday evenings and Sunday morning. Everybody meets up at church and you catch up on all the gossip, right? So there's 400 people in the entire settlement area. You may not really see everybody because everybody's got a bunch of land, but when you go to church or you go into town to get gas or whatever, then you run across people that you've known your whole life. And when you go to church, maybe there's 25 to 50 people in church. And so everybody catches up on the gossip. Everybody talks about what everybody's family is doing, any scandals that have been going on, anything to be celebrated, anyone or any family that needs prayers. And that's life. That's just normal life. And so I can easily see, like, it's not as far a stretch coming from this particular area. It's not a far stretch to understand how it came to pass that Taylor is lying to her husband, her in-laws, her new friends. She's lying to them saying she's pregnant. But there's other people that were friends with her when she had her hysterectomy and her ectopic pregnancy and all that. And the doctor found out that he had a patient who he knows that he completed a hysterectomy on, and now this woman is living a lie. She's married. She's told someone, I'm having your child. There's photographs being taken. And the doctor is saying, okay, this is going to be a real problem. And there were a few people that did make phone calls to the clinic. And the clinic owners just said, hey, there are HIPAA laws. I can't say anything, but what I can say is follow your gut. That's all I'm going to say. But are you listening to me? Do you hear me? Right? So the doctor took it seriously, and they sent out the alert to the doctors. To the law enforcement, to the hospitals to increase their security around the nurseries in the hospitals and protect the newborn babies. Now, did it ever occur to them that this vivacious, beautiful young woman was a killer? I don't think so. I mean, you think about it, people that you've known all your life, or you've known their parents, or you yourself have given them surgeries a couple of times. You just look at them like they're normal, regular people going about their day, and it never occurs to you that you could be talking to a killer. It just never occurs to you, right? So they were on the lookout for some funny business, but they were not believing or thinking murder. They were thinking somebody's gone off the deep end. Somebody may be, manic. Maybe they're having some bipolar psychosis. And so we need to protect the newborns. All right. So that was in place the morning that Taylor made her way to Reagan's house and did the evil, awful thing. Okay. Now, Lauren seemed to believe that this was about keeping Wade. All right. And there are a lot of women that want to keep their men. I get that. Okay. But this goes so far above and beyond just wanting to keep the man that you want. that it kind of robs it of the intricacies of the human experience. I think you have to realize that this is not Taylor Parker is not a young woman who was antisocial. She didn't avoid people when she was young. She didn't stay in trouble all the time with the school officials. She had a lot of friends. She was a cheerleader. She did competitive cheerleading. She played softball. She played basketball. But she also was significantly overweight. And hold on, I've got a photograph that I can show. Okay, I'm going to have to. So it's going to be a little hard to see. Okay, why isn't it showing? There we go. Come on. Okay, maybe I got to get it really close to me. Nope. Hold on. Get it. Oh, okay, now you can see. This is her high school yearbook. I want to think that maybe it was like 10th grade, like 10th grade, 11th grade, something like that. So she up until the age of 13, she was not carrying all this extra weight. Her parents divorced. They initially separated when she was 12, and then their divorce happened, like 6 months later. Taylor began having a lot of stomach complaints. She was having significant stomach issues, and she ended up increasing her food intake, but relying on more of like carbohydrate, sugar, bread, things like that when she did eat. And very quickly, her weight blossomed. There was something interesting that happened during that period of time. And it was that she ended up going to her dad's house to live after the divorce. She stayed at her mom's house for a little while. She and her brother Zachary, were both with her mom for, a year or two. And it just wasn't working. And so she made the choice to go live with dad. And dad had some issues. During the trial, the brother told a story where he was visiting dad one weekend, and dad actually took him to a drug house, took him to a place where people were purchasing drugs and or using drugs. So if Zachary had that experience, you can kind of guess that Taylor probably did too, right? Just as a guess. You don't know that for a fact. She never said that, but he definitely acknowledged that history. The way that Taylor described it and some of her friends, it was more that dad was just unavailable. He was emotionally unavailable. And if he's using drugs, of course he's emotionally unavailable, right? He's altered state of consciousness. He's probably not even aware that she was there. Certainly didn't care about her socialization. But there was always food. Taylor never had to worry about what she was going to eat. And there was always a place to live with lights and air conditioning. And so you can't say that it was abusive, that she was beaten or anything like that, right? But it was a fairly neglectful environment. And then you add in that extra little bit of information from the brother, and you can see, okay, this was a young woman that was probably very lonely and very unattached. If she wasn't living with her mom, where there were healthy people coming in and out of the house, how much time was Taylor actually spending alone during that critical period of development of junior high and high school, where she's actually biologically, she's driven to learn how to make relationships with other people and how to talk to other people. And if you're just spending time alone, that falls by the wayside and you lose out on those skills. So she did have a good friend group. She was always able to make friends. And this is where John Matthias sort of comes in with his analysis. He talks about Taylor in terms of the false self, right? That Taylor really did not have a good idea of who she was, that there was no real essence to Taylor. And that does go along with the psychosocial development, that if your biology is telling you that you should be learning how to manage same-sex relationships, friendships, how to make friends, how to be a good friend, learning how to have a committed family relationship and what that means, learning about forgiveness, or later then making relationships with the opposite sex in one-on-one relationships, where you're now exploring romantic love and how to form a new family together, right? So he does pick up on that connection between the psychosocial development interfering and then her ending up without that piece of identity in place when she entered adulthood. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, put a 1 in the chat. Oh, thank you. Yes, all of you that hit the thumbs up already. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Appreciate you. So I was quite shocked when I looked at Tommy Wakasey, when I Googled him. And these poor people have been Googled to death, as you can imagine, after this notorious crime and then the resulting trial and finally the documentary. None of them are secret anymore. They've all been Googled, you know. But I was quite surprised when I Googled Tommy Wakasey. And I'll show you why. Let me show you why. This is Tommy Wakasey. Why am I shocked? What do you guys think about that? Because, hold on, I'm trying to get something up on my phone for you to look at. Hold on. All right. That is Tom. I know it looks just like Brittany J. Oh my God. I can't believe you said that. Okay. So that is Wade. Come on. That is Wade Griffin. Shoot. Have to go close. There you go. That is Wade Griffin. That is the man she was with when she lied about being pregnant. Is it the same guy? Look at this man, Tommy Wakasey. And then look at Wade Griffin. It's like, oh my God, it's the same man, right? They look exactly alike. I couldn't believe my eyes. However, that goes right along with my conceptualization of what happened with Taylor. This is the man, that the picture that you're looking at here. This is the man she fell in love with in 2011 and stayed with him until 2017. Okay. That's a very long relationship when you look at all of the relationships that she had after this guy. Okay. They were months, a year at the most, right? But they were breaking down. They started really fast. Within a month or two, she was trying to move in, and they ended really, really fast. This guy, though, she was with him for nearly 7 years. Oh, okay. Y'all couldn't see it. Let me pull up a picture of Wade Griffith, or Griffin, not Griffith. Hold on just a minute. Wade Griffin. Oh, it's Ian. Okay, let me share this right here. Hold on. Okay, take a good long look at this dude. And now look at this dude. Is it the same guy? How wild is that? Looks nearly identical. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I go back and I look at like the different people that I dated, and they don't all look like, they're not all identical, but this is like exact. They're the same guy, right? Okay. So this was really interesting when I saw this. People say that when there is trauma in childhood, okay, when there is trauma, you can get stuck. And what they mean is you can get stuck in that developmental age, in that developmental period in which the trauma occurred, right? Now, intellectually, you're getting smarter, you can think, you can learn, but emotionally, you stay in that same age. So if you experience a significant trauma when you're like 7, 8, 9 years old, then in general, you experience or can experience very chaotic emotions. Emotions can feel way too big, and it's very difficult to learn to manage your emotions. Once you heal that trauma, once you go back and you make sense of it as an adult, then you suddenly gain mastery over your emotions. Okay. Now, someone that has a significant trauma when they're 15, 16, 17 years old, their picture looks a little different. One thing that I think is pretty common to see with someone who experiences significant trauma in their teenage years, they tend to sort of have this extended adolescence. They keep going to the bars and drinking a lot. Like when they're 40 and 50 and they're still trying to spend time with the 20-year-olds, right? So you can start picking up on these emotional frozen points in people's lives, and then you heal that trauma, and then emotionally they recover, and then they begin to operate in a more age appropriate way. Okay. So when I saw that this guy, hold on just a minute. Sorry it takes so long to get them both pulled up at the same time. When I saw this guy, I thought he's the one she loved, right? She went from her dad's house where she was basically a child raising herself. She went into his life and he's like a dad. He's like taking care of her. He gave her a family. She had a little boy. I'm not going to say that's the little boy because I don't know. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of have him hidden a bit. But the dad ended up getting full custody of the little boy. Okay. So, but she left her dad's home where she was alone and she wasn't being taken care of. And she was basically trying to raise herself. And she ended up with this man. And I think she felt like she had a family. I think she felt loved and I think she felt wanted and I think she felt safe in a way that she never had with her own mom and dad the whole time she was growing up. And that's where this critical problem kicks in, right? She ended up, she had some health issues, but one of the things that happened to her, she had an ectopic pregnancy. She had her tubes tied. She ended up with an ectopic pregnancy and she went ahead and knew about that and got that done. But then later she ended up having to get a hysterectomy. They didn't know that they were going to be doing that until they had already done the surgery. They opened her up. She was knocked out, general anesthesia, opened her up. They looked at the situation. The doctor said, we need to just take everything. They left one ovary for hormone issues, but they took everything. Okay. While she was asleep, he and her mother made the decision. So when she woke up from general anesthesia, she basically found out that she was sterile forever. There's no going back. You know, if you get your tubes tied, sometimes they can go in there, reattach them, and you can still get pregnant. For Taylor, that wasn't the case. They did do the hysterectomy. They did not give her opportunity to be a part of the decision, which was a kind of barbaric thing. I just can't imagine how they accomplished that. You generally don't see that. Even in those circumstances, they'll just close you back up, wait for you to wake up. They'll explain the situation and the health problems. What happens if you don't get the hysterectomy? What happens if you do get the hysterectomy? And then the decision is left up to the woman. In this case with Taylor, that wasn't done. The husband and the mom made the decision. It was a terrible moment. It's a terrible thing for everyone in that family. It was handled horribly. So she was violated. She felt a deep betrayal. It was a critical rift. It caused a serious critical wound in her relationship with her mother, but also with her husband. Okay. So, yeah. And there was drinking and other things going on. You know, she was eating a lot. That was the way she managed her emotions. Remember, when she's 13, 14, 15, 16, she's living in a house essentially alone, raising herself. She's having all of the teenage angst that any teenager would have. And there is no adult guiding her on how to deal with her emotions in a healthy way. What is the thing that she says is constant? There was always air conditioning. There was always a place to live. There was always food to eat. So she was able, she'd have a terrible day at school. She would be feeling particularly scared or lonely. Go in the kitchen, grab a bag of Doritos or ice cream or candy bar or what, hamburger, and she would eat. And then her body chemistry would change because of the food, and then she would relax and be able to feel better. So she developed food as a primary coping tool, right? It's a common story. There's a lot of children that learn to self-medicate with food because adults are not emotionally available. The adults themselves in the home may not be healthy, may not know how to coach the child to manage their emotions in a healthy way. And so they, do the best they can to figure out how to feel better and how to take care of themselves. So she ended up divorcing this guy. She all but abandoned her life. She gave up full custody to him, let go of her son. She did have her daughter that she had when she was 17, who the father of that little girl was never really involved with the little girl or anything. Then she ended up getting her stomach stapled, gastric. I think she got a sleeve. Okay. Now, when I heard that, I just shook my head in sadness. The reason that I shook my head in sadness when I heard that she had undergone a gastric bypass sleeve surgery is that there is a lot of psychiatric side effects that come from these surgeries. Number one, they're fairly catastrophic physically. You're really removing the greatest part of the stomach, right? And this alters changes in neurochemistry, the enzymes in the body. There's all kinds of issues. One of the big issues, though, is that it creates a malabsorption syndrome. And what that means is that the body, the small amount of nutrition that you are taking in, your body may not actually be absorbing even that small amount. So even when you're giving supplements, vitamins, you may only be absorbing a small amount of that. So vitamin B1, vitamin B12, both of those are critical. You got to maintain critical levels of B1, B12, and also vitamin D. And sometimes that's hard to do with people that have undergone one of these very, very, very invasive and intensive surgeries. And people pay a price with health problems, but also notably psychiatric problems. There was a period of time, a couple of decades ago, where doctors believed that bypass was creating bipolar disorder, right? And because of the disruption to neurochemistry when you would undergo these massive surgeries. People began to speak up and say, well, wait a minute, it may not actually be the actual chemistry being affected. Maybe it is simply that we're stripping that person of their primary coping tool. They don't know how to manage their emotions. And so if they've been managing themselves emotionally by using food as like a drug, and we take that away from them, then that would explain why you get cross addiction problems, and you start seeing a lot of mania, major depressive episodes, a lot of shmuamide, you know what I'm mean, I don't want to say anything. So then for a while there was the argument that it was a behavioral issue that was happening. And so now we have arrived in the enlightened age where now we know that, yes, indeed, you are taking away a person's primary coping tool. However, the dramatic damage that happens to the digestive system is in fact altering the body's chemistry. It's changing your enzymes, it's changing your hormones, it's changing your neurochemistry, dopamine, serotonin, and such. And they have now moved on to a new phase of research. Are the GLP-1s creating the same type of psychiatric issues that we see with the bariatric surgery? And thank goodness the answer is no, they're not. The GLP-1s are not creating the same alteration in biochemistry that you get with the catastrophic damage to the digestive system when you do the bypass or the sleeve. Okay, so let's go back to Taylor now. Okay, so Taylor gets, she's had this critical violation, this critical betrayal by the two people that she's ever been attached to in her life. Her mom, which was probably, my guess is, insecure attachment. And then Tommy with Casey, where it does seem like things were going well until she ended up having the realization, I can't have any more children. I can't build me a family. And I don't know who I am. So I need a family to be defined by. She doesn't know. She's not Taylor. When she's standing on her own 2 feet, she doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know what she likes. She doesn't know what she wants to do. She has no idea. So she looks toward the idea of family as the definition for who is Taylor. Growing up, being alone, living by herself, raising herself at her dad's house. She's looking at the other kids. She's play acting. She's becoming a cheerleader. She's playing basketball. She's playing softball, but she's modeling herself after these other kids. She's looking at these kids that do have parents that are there, who do have people that care about them and love them. And she's saying, okay, this is how they act. That's how I need to act. We saw the same dynamic with Chris Watts. Chris Watts was very clear talking about how he pretended to be something that he wasn't, that he could convince his teachers that he went to China for the summer, even though his parents are living in abject poverty, right? They had nothing. They lived in a little house that was like 800 square feet or something. But he was able to convince the teachers that they went to China for the summer, and the teachers believed him. So this idea of growing up, your childhood, growing up in a way that you don't explore hobbies, you don't have someone there that well, I feel bad now because somebody said something mean to me at school, but when I get home, my mom will be there and she will make me feel better. Or I feel really, really scared. Let me go get my dad because my dad will protect me. If you don't have those types of formative experiences, those serve as the foundation of your identity. If you don't have them, where does that little biological creature get them? With vicarious learning. That's the next best thing. If your biology is, there's a set point in the brain that's saying, go explore social relationships, learn to navigate social relationships, and you don't have anybody there to guide you in that, then you have to fall back on the next best thing, because you can't fight Mother Nature. Mother Nature is the one that's telling you, get out there and figure out this social milieu and learn to navigate this. You're a part of a larger world. You need to know how to do it. If you don't have that emotionally available adult who's feeding you information about who you are, what your worth is, what your skills are, what your interests are, the things that you like and the things that you don't like, then you don't ever develop an idea about who am I. And I think for the first time, without Tommy, without her mom, which was, I'm not saying that was a healthy attachment, not by a long shot, but it was the only attachment, right? So she had insecure attachment with her mom, but then she ends up with Tommy, and in her mind she says, this is it, I've arrived, this is who I am, Tommy makes me a human being, this is my family, this is where I'm safe, this is where I'm okay. And then you wake up from what is supposed to be a fairly simple surgery of, disconnecting adhesions and things like that. And they've actually removed your uterus without your consent. Your mom, the two people you were attached to, the two people that you were basing everything on. And she walked away and she said, I've been betrayed. None of this is real. But what did she do? She left him and went and found a guy that was exactly him. Wild. So it's like the perfect example of how trauma can make people get stuck. And they just keep working on the same problem over and over and over again. And what was the entire deal with Wade Griffin? Family. Gonna have a baby. You look at those pictures of Taylor when they're with the horse, she and Wade are with the horse, and Reagan's taking the pictures. She looks genuinely happy, doesn't she? Could you be happy pulling off such a lie? No, you would know. You would know what you were doing. And you would be thinking ahead. You'd be going, okay, I'm supposed to be 9 months pregnant today. What do I do? What do I do? She wasn't. She felt so good pretending, playing the role. This is my safety. He looks just like Tommy. We're going to have our land. We're going to have our cows. I'm going to pick up what I lost with Tommy, and I'm going to remake it with Wade. And then I'll be okay. Even her background story about her grandpa was an oil baron, and that she was inheriting money from Blackburn Syrup Company. Even that was lies about family. What kind of family? The best kind of family. The kinds of families that come with inheritance and trust funds. Not just, oh yeah, my mom was a teacher, my dad was a coach, and I might inherit, I don't know, $20,000, but I'm not going to inherit like a grand fortune. Not that. That wasn't her lie. That wasn't the pretend family she came up with. It had to be the best family. Not just oil money rich. And in Texas, oil money rich means something. Okay. I had a t-shirt one time, something about being an daughter of the oil field. I don't remember now what it said, but it was something about my dad was that I was a daughter of oil money raised me, something like that. It was a cute little t-shirt. I liked it. But anyway, it's in Texas, that's a big thing. If your family's in oil, people are like, oh, there's a lot of money there if you got oil wells, you know. So so she comes up with the story, oil, but that wasn't even good enough. Then she had to include the morning molasses. Oh yeah, Blackburn syrup. I'm getting their fortune too. So that is your narcissism, right? That's the delusions of grandeur, believing, knowing internally that you're so flawed and so broken, believing that other people would not accept the real you. And so they construct a mask, they construct a persona outward that they believe is something that everybody else will love. It's not so much that they love it, it's that they're trying to create an illusion, not delusion, but an illusion for others to relate to. And we see that in action in the documentary when she's telling all of her new potential family members that she's buying Pecan Grove. They're going to love me when I'm able to bring this beautiful property into Wade's life. They will accept me. My mother-in-law has always wanted this particular car. I am going to go and get it for her. And then she will love me. I am going to buy Wade this awesome, hot, black, huge truck, and he will love me. So she began bringing the land and the truck and the car. She's bringing all these things in for what reason? So she can have a family. That's what she wanted. She didn't want to be rich. Wade wanted to be rich. She wanted family. So she did to go and steal a car and say, I bought this for you. She's not thinking about the ramifications of it. She probably actually looked at it like a child, and she probably told herself, they'll never find the car because they don't even know who my mother-in-law is. So they'll never know who she is. That's how simplistic and concrete a child thinks. So she's just acting in a way that is delusional. It doesn't fit with the real world. The things that she's doing is completely irrational. But she's of the opinion if she provides these things, Wade will fall in love with her and he won't leave her. So he's not going to leave her when they lose the car and the truck. He's not going to leave her when Pecan Grove goes away. She is of the opinion, all I got to do is get him to love me, then he loves me forever, because that is her childhood notion of love. You and I know as adults, yeah, that's not exactly how it works, Taylor. You may fall in love with someone, they may fall in love with you, but if you neglect that relationship, it will break down. It will go away. That love will. But in her mind, she told, because she's emotionally a child, she told herself, she convinced herself that Tommy loved her. And it's not love like a romantic boy-girl love. I shouldn't say boy-girl, romantic love. It's not like that. Remember, she's searching for non-judgmental love, highest positive regard, the love of an accepting mother and father. That's what she's hungry for. That's what she's aching for. She believed she found that with Tommy. And it must have been going great because they were together nearly 7 years. They broke up when he, I'm using quotation marks, betrayed her, when he made the decision to make her sterile, took from her the only thing she ever thought she was, which was, I'm going to be a family. And without children, you can't be a family in terms of that childish, concrete way of thinking. So then she says, okay, well, Tommy turned out to be exactly like my mom. He was only pretending to love me, because if he had really loved me, he would not have made me sterile by taking my uterus. So then she leaves and she reenacts the next version of Tommy. She sees Wade and he looks the part. And let me tell you something. I'm really curious to see her biological father. Is he a redhead who's a little pudgy? I bet he is. What do you want to bet? That is very psychodynamic. But the fact that this dude and Wade are two peas in a pod, I bet dear old dad has that same look. I bet he does. Anyway, okay. So if she goes to Scotland, she'll be falling in love every time she turns the corner, because a lot of men have that look in Scotland. There's a lot of men that look like that in Egypt too, believe it or not, because of, well, World War stuff. But we're not going to go down that tangent. Okay. So she finds Wade, and she's just, here's another chance at love. In her point of view, it's love of the mother and father, a love that can't be lost, people that won't betray you, people that won't hurt you. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's plenty of parents that are terrible to their children. They're out there. So, but she's looking at this from that childhood view of love, right? So she's looking for that pure love, the love of God. You and I know that that's not real. That's not something that people are people, even parents are people. And sometimes they hurt us. Sometimes they betray us. Sometimes they disappoint us, but they're people, and parents, are worthy of forgiveness as well. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes what parents do is so unforgivable, you move on past and heal from it. So she finds Wade and she sets out to make him love her so she can be a family. Without that, she doesn't have the sophistication to recognize that once someone falls in love with you, they can fall out of love with you. And that when you give someone a car and then they take it back and they say you stole the car, when you lie and tell someone that you're going to buy a $3 million property and you try to do it with stolen money, that people are not going to love you, Taylor. Nobody was there to tell her that. And she's now at the end of her rope, right? She's now at the end of her rope because now Wade confronts her. And Wade says, you're 10 months pregnant. That doesn't happen. You can't be, you and the baby will die if the baby keeps growing in you. Your doctor will never, ever, ever let you go to 10 months gestational age. So what's the deal? Like, what's happening here? And Wade's mom knew it was all a lie. Wade, I think, Wade didn't see. Maybe Wade is plenty smart and he just was greedy and wanted money. I don't know. I think one of the things they didn't include in the Netflix documentary, Wade actually tried to quit his job because he was marrying a millionaire. And people were like, hey, I wouldn't quit yet. you might want to wait until the money's in the bank. You know what I mean, Wade? And he did not quit his job, but he wanted to, like he was about to. He was ready to quit his job, believing that he was going to be living in life of luxury because Taylor was going to bring all this money. So she's now dug herself a hole from her critical betrayals, from a childhood where her needs were dramatically ignored, and she's the result of a child raising a child, right? She doesn't have depth of thought. She's not thinking in terms of cause and effect. She just reacted. Everything is a reaction. No one ever taught her wise mind, right? So she's under the gun. The money problems are falling through. That's not going to get Wade to love her. And now he's going, well, at least we'll have the baby. And now she's like, oh my God, there's no baby. What's going to happen now? And I think her own anxious distress, the intense fear of abandonment, being without a family, not knowing where she's going to live, what kind of work she can do, all of it. She lost her mind. She just went too far. Now, she had developed a maladaptive behavior set years before. She even went as far as when she was working, she took a managerial title off of someone else's letterhead and made herself that position. She wanted to be special. She wanted to be something, and she didn't know she didn't know how to do that. The only thing she knew was that at one time she had been a part of a family with Tommy. And she was desperately trying to recreate that because that was the closest that she had ever gotten to knowing who she was, to feeling comfortable in her own skin. All right. Okay. I'm done because I got a 10 o'clock meeting that I have to make. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll be back. I got to figure out what my next video will be about. I'm not really sure, but I'll think of something. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Oh, hit the thumbs.
Welcome to the circus, the true crime YouTube scene, where drama's the star and the facts aren't so clean. She's on her channel, she's screaming with flair. J Ducks, poor Nana, her address is bare. The drama volcano, it's ready to blow. Subs grab their popcorn for the Crama show. It's Crama's true crime circus. Round and round we go. Not much truth, just trauma, stealing all the show. Narcissism, borderline, maybe psychopathy, fueling all the chaos in this YouTube spree. The ladies are screeching, they're hurling those names. Snake, liar, fraud. It's their favorite game. No problems defined, no solution in sight. Just a merry-go-round of emotional fights. Subs egg it on, they're loving the mess. Trauma bonding nightly in this hot circus press. It's Crama's true crime circus. Round and round we go. Not much truth, just trauma, stealing all the show. Narcissism, borderline, maybe psychopathy, fueling all the chaos in this YouTube spree. It's a borderline's dream, this emotional ride. No facts, just feelings with nowhere to hide. They gather each night for their drama parade. Significance found in the mess that they've made. So tune in tomorrow, the circus won't stop. Krama's true crime keeps the drama on top. With insults and screams, it's a wild, wild scene. Krama's true crime circus, fighting to be YouTube's drama queen.